Okay, you're back with Conversations with Rich, and we have with us here Dr. Carl Helvie. He's not an MD guy, but he's an RN, registered nurse, and then he's also a doctor of public health. And now, when you're a doctor of public health, Dr. Helvie, what is that responsibility?
It primarily is learning how to keep people and communities well. And most people either teach at the university or work at health departments.
And where did you work?
I worked at the health department for a while, and then I went and taught in the universities for most of my career.
Did you ever want to be an MD? Did you see any need for that?
Never.
No
I
question,
like patient contact and student contact, and I think physicians are too removed from most of that contact. So.
Well, you wrote this book, You Can Beat Lung Cancer Using Alternative/Integrative Interventions, right?
Right.
And you said you beat cancer for the last 28 years, lung cancer?
Actually, I was 39 years
39.
in July.
Well, anything over 5 years is pretty good.
Right, very good.
Right?
Right.
And how do you figure? Did you treat yourself?
Well, I went to the doctor because I had a dream that told me to go for an x-ray, and I pay attention to my dreams because I believe that God speaks with us if we listen, and one way is through our dreams. But I couldn't tell my doctor that, and at that time you had to go through your doctor to be referred for anything.
Sure.
And he kept quizzing me, and finally he sent me for the x-ray, and it came back with a spot that hadn't been there previously. And so then he said they wanted to do a biopsy, so I said fine. So they did a biopsy, and then they're telling me they're going to do chemo and surgery. And I said, wait a minute, I don't make snap decisions. I go home, I pray about it, I make a rational decision. They said, well, you'll be dead in 6 months. And I kept saying, but that's my responsibility. Your responsibility is to tell me the pros and cons. My responsibility is to make the decision. Very unusual for a nurse.
Did you die 39 years ago, or you're still alive?
No.
Okay.
So I decided when I prayed about it and watched my dreams and all, and a friend worked with me, we decided that we should do it naturally. And they kept saying, well, you'll be dead in 6 months, and I kept saying, fine.
It's in your book, but what is the major foods and things that you, and juices or whatever, that you tried during that period to combat and kill that lung cancer?
I took laetrile, which was illegal. Its another name is vitamin B17 or amygdalin. You have to use pancreatic enzymes with it. You have to take zinc, which is a carrier. The theory is that cancer is a nutritional deficiency, and that the vitamin B17 supplies that deficit. I took high-dose vitamin A, like 300,000 units.
You weren't fooling around.
I did then 200,000 and then 50,000, and the daily recommended dose is 5. So I took high-dose vitamin A, I took high-dose vitamin E. The doctor that I saw told me that the high-dose vitamin E would take care of the toxicity of the vitamin A, because vitamin A and E are both fat soluble, so they're stored in the body.
Right. How's your liver?
Fine, no problem.
Okay.
He put me on a diet that was 75% raw fruit and vegetables with some additional cooked. I could have grains, I could have nuts, but no dairy, no protein, no simple carbohydrate. I did that.
How long are you on that regimen?
2 years.
Just 2 years? I mean, that's a long time in a way. But
right.
After 2 years, are you telling me you went back to the doctor and they did the x-ray or whatever it is, and there's no trace?
Right. Well, I added, because the doctor I went to gave me all the physical things to do. But doctors are not into spiritual and mental and all, and I believe that faith in God and helping others and being compassionate and all that stuff is as important. So I added a lot of mental and spiritual activities. And I went back to the doctor every 6 months, but I didn't tell him I was doing anything. So he thought we were just in a wait and see mode. And then after 2 years, when the spot was gone, he said, well, I made the wrong diagnosis. But my friend, who was professor of pediatrics when I taught at Duke University, and at this point he's the medical director for Blue Cross Blue Shield for North Carolina, and he said, I want to see all the lab work, I want to see the x-rays, everything. So I took it all to North Carolina, and he said it definitely was lung cancer.
And you told him how you beat it?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Did he go along with that?
Mm-hmm. My friend was much more progressive than my doctor.
Yeah. And your friend was an MD?
Right.
And how's your health been in general? I mean, since you took all those mega vitamins and all that stuff.
Actually, until the last 2 months, I have been in excellent health. I have no chronic illnesses. I take no prescribed medications. I'm very active mentally, physically. I get up at 6 in the morning. I walk the beach for an hour. I live in a 3-story house. I'm up and down stairs. I have a radio show, as you know.
Yeah.
I work with probably 60 cancer patients every month. I have been marketing my book. I've done 75 radio shows and about 7 television shows, 35 magazine articles.
Oh, my goodness.
So I keep very, very busy, and I thrive on this because I believe that I'm doing what God wants me to do.
I usually don't ask this, Dr. Helvie, but if you'll excuse me, how old are you?
81.
Pretty good.
I'm a little older than you.
Not much, Doc. But I can sense, just looking at you and talking to you, and I've dealt with thousands of people I've interviewed over these 30 years, I can see it in your eyes. There's almost, I don't know, spiritual, is that good enough?
Right.
I see something there. I don't know if the rest of the crew, but I'm sitting close to you, and I see it. And I believe, like, mind over matter.
Right, I agree.
You know, I think there's something to it. If you felt you would do, I feel this. If, for example, 38 years ago when that doctor told you had a spot, which you did, and, you know, it can kill you. If you felt, oh, that's it, I guess I'm going to die soon, you'd die. You would have died, right?
Right.
But with your attitude and everything, I think the attitude was first.
Right.
And then all these other things you did with the vitamin A and this and that and all that stuff. But no, I think that's just amazing. Now, you're a teacher still?
No, I retired in 2000.
Oh, okay. So other than this book then that you put out, you don't get the message out to people?
Well, my radio show.
On your radio show?
See,
What's your radio show called?
The Holistic Health Show. And I interview primarily physicians and homeopathic doctors, naturopathic, people that use natural alternative interventions. I do series. So usually about 4 or 5 months, I've done arthritis, I've done diabetes, I've done seasonal allergies, a whole variety of things.
Well, you're not saying, but I'm saying, you mentioned diabetes, and there's a million other diseases and all. Through diet and other things and spiritual stuff, you can cure diabetes, you can cure all these things?
Right, definitely.
If you believe.
Right,
definitely. That's the key thing, isn't it?
Right. Even arthritis.
Arthritis.
You know, and, people think, well, you're going to suffer. I think a lot of times the medical profession do a disservice. Like, I injured my back, and I went to physical therapy. And when I got finished, I still had pain, and the therapist said to me, oh, you've got arthritis, you'll have this the rest of your life. I said, I didn't have this 6 months ago. I don't accept that. I won't have this 6 months from now. And so I went, and some friends told me about chiropractors who I'd never been to. And I found a good chiropractor. He got rid of the pain. I've never had a problem since. That was probably 15, 20 years ago.
That's something.
And I wondered how many people accept what the therapist says and then go around,
limping around.
Right.
We never mentioned osteopaths, but I have a lot of regard for osteopaths.
Right.
My personal physician is an osteopath.
Right.
After years of, I know something about medicine. I've studied it on my own for 40 years. I I've been to MDs, but I believe in osteopaths.
Right.
Not only can, I'm talking to people out here, of course the doctor knows, but not only can they prescribe and do everything a medical doctor can do, but they also can do body manipulation, like a chiropractor could do or whatever it is, and they understand the musculoskeletal body. So anyway, now the book here, I read it. Can we take a picture of that maybe? You can beat lung cancer using alternative/integrative interventions. That's a lot of words right there, but I got them all out. Alternative, integrative, what does that all mean?
Well, I would have
tell
used
me.
natural, except
yeah.
some of the doctors that wrote chapters for me use alternative, or some people call it integrative, which is taking the best of the traditional with the alternative and combining them. And because they do, some of them use something called insulin potentiation therapy, where they use a little bit of chemo, like a 10th dose.
Yeah.
I couldn't call it natural.
No.
And it wasn't strictly alternative, so
yeah.
that's how I ended up with such a long title.
Have you been married?
No,
Never?
never.
Maybe that's why you're in such good shape. I hope my wife doesn't see this show. But, my wife is perfect, though. No problem, no problem.
Well, I gain weight when I go to my sister's house every year, right. Yeah, she's too good of a cook.
Hey, do you think, though, seriously, is there anything to it that you've not been married and didn't have children? That, I don't know, I'm just thinking of it now, that maybe without that stress, good and bad stress, putting kids through school and have to worry about your wife if you're not home for dinner or something like that. Do you think not having that kind of stress also helped you a lot?
Well, I think we're all individual, and so, it worked for me, but it might not work for you. But for me, it worked, because I don't like to have to say, if I was teaching and I wanted to stop and see a movie on the way home and have dinner, I didn't have to call anyone.
Yeah.
I don't have dogs or cats or animals, so I can pretty much do what I want to do. Plus, it allowed me to help others, and that has been a motivating factor in my life. I had more free time. I wouldn't have the time to do what I do for other people if, I had family and that kind of responsibility. And I feel like that this is a very important aspect of my life this time.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. So you consider yourself, I'm asking, a believer in God and
Definitely, right.
Religious things?
I'm not religious. I see religion as being a set of dogma, rituals, and all that type of thing, and having all the answers, whereas spiritual are people who are on a path searching.
And that's you?
And I'm searching for answers and searching to be a better person all the time. And so I consider myself spiritual, but not religious. I don't feel like I have to go to a building to communicate with God. In fact, one of my friends once said that in the future, people will point to the church and they'll say that's where they used to capture God on Sundays.
That's good. I like that. I like that. But you got a happy face, and your outlook reflects that. And I think that means a lot, doesn't it? If
Definitely.
you're somehow mean son of a bitch, I wonder if you could have beat the cancer.
I don't think so.
No.
I think that the faith is such an important aspect of any illness that you have. And sometimes I'll have doubt and I'll think, well, I don't know if I'm going to get better or not. And then I think, well, why do I do that? I mean,
why do you question
I always
it?
Get better. So why do I have to go through that?
Did you ever, in these last 30 years, did you ever, like the average person, get a cold? Or not even that?
I can't remember when I last had a cold. I don't have it very often.
Okay. No, I just curious. I think it's that overall thinking of yours, and that whatever it is, it what works for you. I think of, because I told you I'm interested in medicine. I'm frustrated. I wanted to be an MD, didn't go to medical school for a lot of reasons, and then, but I've been studying medicine ever since on my own. And I have people who call me up. If my wife were here, she'd say, yeah, that's true. At least once a week, somebody's calling me up, either a relative from New York or a friend here, call me up and say, hey, Rich, I've got this thing here that I went to the doctor for. I said, okay, you went to the doctor. What did he say? Well, I don't know. He mentioned some medicine or some. I can see they're lost.
Right.
And I have so many people act that way. Not intelligent and informed. I'm talking about intelligent people, college graduates.
Right.
And they know nothing. And I'm ending up telling them, well, look, if you're taking this medicine, why don't you do this too? It can't hurt. And then or that. But I'm amazed. So I am sure there are people going to doctors now who are being, I'm going to say, mistreated.
Right.
If you get treated, mistreated.
Right, definitely.
I don't know what to do about it. What do you do about it? You're
I
the
think
teacher.
we all are on our own path, and my philosophy is that I want people to know that there are alternatives, whether it's arthritis or whether it's cancer or whatever, and then people make their own decision, because a lot of people want a simple, quick fix.
Yeah.
They want to take a drug.
Yeah,
They want to
you're right.
take that pill.
Oh, they love that.
Right. The same as people want to go to the fast food restaurants and eat the fast food. I won't do that because I see how detrimental that is to your health. I'd rather cook my fruit and my vegetables at home and not put a lot on them, maybe a little olive oil or something.
Sure.
Because I know that I can stay healthy that way. But a lot of people want the quick fix, the pill and the fast foods and all. And so people, I think, deserve to know the alternatives, and then they make up their own mind about what they want.
Yeah. Well, let me just tell you, we're closing out this segment. Please, if we can take a picture again of this book here by Dr. Carl O Helvie about you can beat lung cancer using alternative/integrative interventions. There, it's on the screen. And this book is filled up. You can get this book anywhere, Doc?
Right.
Almost anywhere, right? There you go. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
And I'm glad you have a radio show that you can reach so many people.
Right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
My pleasure. Back in a minute.